Hi, Kari, and congratulations in your grade 5 exam submission. As usual, you did a wonderful job, and it is an absolute pleasure for me to rate your exam today and to give you some tips and some feedback. Because I know you will also make a very good use of the tips I will give you today. I think that with the risk to repeat myself, and you truly have a perfect attitude towards learning and towards the guitar, and your analysis, your notes explain that really well, because it's clear how much thoughts and how much work you put in the process of learning the instrument. So, and how much commitment as well. So it was a pleasure really to read through all your notes and then to listen to you playing. I think there's so many good things happening in your playing, so much improvement, and you're absolutely in the right direction. So I think you understand from my words that you passed your grade 5 exam and you're ready to move on. I know that you want to stick a little bit longer with some of the pieces, and I absolutely agree, because I think that we never end learning a piece. So as much as you want to continue working on these pieces, or even just let them sit for a while and then take them back again after a while to see what happened, and how you approach them a little differently. But I think that you truly achieved your goals and the goals required for grade 5. It's so notable how you keep a diary and notes of all your practice sessions. This is truly great. Plus, I want to spend a few words about the importance of you teaching your daughter. I don't know if you realize how important is what you're doing, and not just for her, but even for you. And from a teacher perspective, I learned so many things way better for myself when I started teaching them, because one thing is understanding a technique or something for ourselves, and one thing is the deep knowledge we need about that thing to be able to teach it to somebody else. And I think that theirs is a very much a turning point where we start looking at other perspectives of our instrument through the teaching process. And I think you're doing a wonderful job, and you're keeping your daughter excited, and it's just a great example. And I think your daughter is really lucky. Anyway, a lot of compliments, but I truly wanted to start with these because I don't know how much you realize how great is your path. But I know that you have a lot of doubts. You talk about strengths and weaknesses. I know you're always eager to learn something new and eager to perfect what you already have, and that's great. But you should be really happy also what you have right now, because you are at a great point. But let's move on and let's look your exam in depth. Of course, I have tips that I want to give you, and all of them are little or maybe advanced, or just things to think about for the future practice and maybe to incorporate in the future. So why don't we start from the practice routine? I always start with the practice routine because then we go to the fun repertoire. So we'll start with the technical part and then we move on. So let's look into that. So you really did a wonderful job in working in depth each exercise. And let's start from the beginning. I think you have a nice extended extending technique for your fingers. I like the way they relax back. The only note I have is about the rhythm with the sequential movement. And that's a tricky one because it's not easy at all. But let's listen when you actually do the last line of the exercise where you combine all the fingers together. Let's have a listen. And that's great. The only thing I'm missing is a little bit of crisp and clear articulation of the 4 notes, because many times the risk is that we hit them almost at the same time and we hear a big sound but not 4 different sounds. And it's a little detail, but it makes a difference, especially if we are working on some Spanish repertoire and we need to really use the best of our rasgueado technique to make clear the rhythm within the strumming, because we can have a bigger rhythm, that is the structure of the strum of the rasgueado, and then all the little elements that will form this rhythm. So what I mean is that I want to clearly hear ta 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 ta, even when we play all fast. It's a subtle difference, and if you damp your strings, you might hear it even more. As opposed as a more altogether all the sounds. I hope I'm being clear in these. It's a little thing, but you will see if you start playing some Spanish repertoire that these type of work will become really handy and really helpful. But let's move on. Great, the 13.2 exercise, great, absolutely great. Nice articulation, very clear, all the combination, and I was really happy. I could sense a little bit of index tension, especially while using M&A. You know, like just I could see that there was a little tension and the finger was sticking out a little bit, but just a tiny bit. But since I'm picky, and also I want to give you tools for the future, I think that's something to look at. And even when you play with M&A, try really to have everything else relaxed. And it's not easy at all, but I think it's good to work and keep that in mind. Okay, third, the buzzing exercise, really good. Let's go to the vibrato a little bit and look at some things. I have a couple of things to say about the vibrato, and one is try to see if you can play the vibrato with a little less pressure. And this is difficult to understand because we really need a lot of pressure to be able to do the vibrato. But what happens often in students is to keep that pressure and never release it. So a lot of pressure staying there. One thing is do the vibrato, release the tension. That doesn't mean I release also the note, but I just, at this point, I'm not tense anymore and I move on. Instead, one thing that could happen often is keep the pressure and change the note, and that might be a little not beneficial for the playing because it will exhaust our hands a little bit. And even if we are applying a technique like vibrato that is really intense, we should be able to control as much as possible the amount of tension that we put in. Let's listen a little bit of it. For instance, here. But in general, it's really good. I think you understood how the vibrato works. The only thing is that I think you're doing the opposite motion when it comes to do these. So I see you start from towards the bridge. Instead, we'll start towards the head of the guitar. This way. It's a tiny difference, and it might not be that clear, but if you look at if you try to pick the difference, it's like one movement starts from the lower pitch and one starts from the upper pitch. Lower pitch, upper pitch. It's a little tiny difference, but common is to start the vibrato on that direction, to have first the lower pitch, etc. Anyway, very good, great, the slurs and the acciaccatura. Let me go to 1.704. There we are. And it was great. Just keep an eye on the right hand pinky. This is still because I'm picky. Which is accumulating a little tension. And same pinky, it's having a little bit too much energy involved and stressed involved in the. I think this descending movement 4/3, it's being not 100% effective because I think you're not giving enough attention to the first note. Even if it's fast, because it's an acciaccatura, a great way to control that pinky movement is to first give attention to the first note before actually plucking. So it means applying a little bit of pressure. Ba-dum, 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 instead of it's pressure, and then you change, the pressure will transfer to the other finger. So you can think about that, and I truly think that these will solve a lot of pinky insecurity, especially in slurs. And we need to give enough attention to the first movement of the descending slur. Anyway, let's move on to the scales. I think yes, because the walking exercise was really good. Nothing to say about it. It was really well done. Scales. So very good job. And you know already we talked about the upper positions in the scale. And I know you worked on that with Sanya. We worked on that together. And but we can address again a couple of things so you can keep on working on that. So here you can see from the frame already like the overextended pinky. So we really want to find a position that doesn't allow our pinky to overextend. We want it nice and round, and that might involve walking up in this vertical movement with the hand, or even readjust a tiny bit with our wrist. That doesn't have to be too much. I really not encourage too much of movement in this direction. but we really want to not allow the pinky to have this space to overextend, because an overextended pinky has a tendon that is too stressed with tension, and it can get stuck and also hurt. So that's one thing. Very nice rolling wrist here. I always appreciate when people do these. So like the pinky sticks out a little tiny bit too much, but I really appreciate the sequential. Many people try to put down everything, and I think it's counter productive. Instead, we really want to go there very slowly and in a smooth way, and that's great, but try to keep the pinky, see, near, even when you take it out, instead of doing that. And I mean, it's not easy, but try to control the pinky and have it always handy and above the fret, preparing above the fret of the next note. So that's another thing to keep in mind. And last is the bending of the joints. We really should avoid the bending of the joints. That means that your fingers don't have enough space to move there, because if they need to bend, so we really have to find out the right position for our hand in our guitar to have them nice and round and have allow them the space to do that. So it's something to work on and to try and find. Sometimes it might be too much of this wrist motion, so if we go too up, the round, it doesn't, the round finger doesn't have enough enough grip on the string. It feels like it's not how can I say, landing well on and with the right amount of weight on the fret, so the result is bending. So it might even need to be that our wrist needs to be a little lower and kind of rolled. I have my thumb really up when I'm here, something that I would never say to a beginner playing in first position, but here I really consider having my thumb really up there, like I'm almost hugging the neck of the guitar. But really good, great rhythms, variations. I was really happy with your work, and I think you should be really proud of your practice routine submission, also because this practice routine 13 is really hard. Anyway, let's go to some repertoire. All right, you did a great job with your repertoire submission. I really enjoyed listening to your pieces. I think you are applying a lot of dynamics, a lot of timbre changes. You're looking for the variety, and this is really great. I think you are really working well and trying to make the pieces yours and give a meaning and a direction to them. Let's look at a couple of things. So the bourrée, very nice dynamics, very nice ornaments. I really appreciate them, very elegant and very nice tempo. Just listen to a couple of seconds of it. One thing I noticed is that it's a little bit thumb heavy, and that doesn't mean that it doesn't have to be like that. The thumb, the bass line here is very strong and needs to be strong. I'm just missing a little bit of the upper voice. I think there could be more balance in between. You could work on bringing out that upper note about how you want to balance them. It might also be an orientation of the guitar, so you might hear more the basses than they are, but from the video. But it's just a thought. Let's go to the Devise instead. Again, very musical and dynamically rich, which I appreciate. I have one comment about a dynamic choice that you do here that I like, really, I appreciate, but I would prepare in a different way. So very nice, the sudden piano that you want in that upper A. But I would get there a little bit more gradually. I don't say that sudden dynamics changes are not encouraged, but it depends on the moment. So here, I would rather do the first A a little stronger and then the second A very soft, because I hear a very sudden change from the strong chord and then the A. Instead, if we get there a little bit more gradually and then super soft, that might be a more convincing way of ending that phrase. So the first A would be a little bit more prominent. Let's go on again. One other tip for that jumping on the upper B that comes later, it's a little tricky. So here you choose these fingering for 3/4, and so you have to abandon the all chord to go up to the B. So one choice is, you change the fingering and you do a big of a stretch, but it works in terms of connecting the line. So you get to the B and then you abandon. Or you keep that and maybe you can emphasize that jump even by cutting that chord a little earlier. That way it's clear that you want to jump there and it's not unwanted, but it's actually more than wanted. Sometimes that's how we have to cover some technical difficulties, and it's not your technical difficulty, it's for everybody. There's no way to jump here with 4 and 4 without interrupting that chord. But what if we do it very intentionally? Or something really emphasized. Anyway, those are just very simple tips, but they might be a nice thoughts for the future and how you can work on some challenges on the pieces from a musical perspective as well. El Negrito, very good, very nice, nice rhythm. Sometimes I've heard a little bit too many accents in some passages, especially passages where you had a strong bass line. Maybe I can find it. I think here. Okay, 3:30. Sorry, here. So every bass note of this part is very accented. Maybe you can give less of an accent and distribute that strength among the whole arpeggio. So let's assume I take like a random chord progression, and I want to emphasize that bass line. If I give too much accent, instead I can't think about giving a direction to that line. Still I give accent, but connect better that instead of having 4 accented notes, I can have a strong line that is all legato and connected. That way, is still emphasized, but not as strong. So that's just an idea, because I was hearing a little bit extra accents there, but very, very good. Beautiful. Also the piano that you do afterwards. And 450. Yeah, let me go here. And here in general, I think you could have more connection. Like, the difficulty here is that there's a lot of different, like, kind of little episode. Taka tika taka taka tika taka taka tika ta. And it's difficult to think about the longer line, but maybe you could consider connect more the musical materials, especially within the same phrase or within the same 2 longer phrases. I don't know if it's clear what I mean here, but there could be what I mean by connection is to create less gaps or less interruptions of the flow, and that happens also through accents, and instead have a clearer direction for the whole episode. And I'm happy to talk more about those things, and in a separate way, or even through an email, because I know it's a deep topic and there's too much to say about it. But let's go to Brouwer. You were so good. I loved your rendition of Brouwer. Well, I loved everything, but Brouwer was really with the nice energy, nice intention, really good speed and dynamics and contrast, really well controlled in all the aspects. If I have one comment, is to work on the open string slurs as well, because sometimes the open string slurs were the one not sounding that crisp and clear, and sometimes the slurred note was too tiny or too weak. Instead, I think it's important to work on these open string and fret and note slurs, because we often work on these slurs, but almost never work either on ascending or descending slurs in with open strings. And that's why sometimes we find ourselves playing them in the pieces, and they are not as effective as the other ones. So, but let's listen to a little bit of it. It's beautiful. Great. Anyway, Kari, this was a wonderful submission, and you passed absolutely, and I'm really, really happy about your work, your path, your commitment, and everything. 2 things that I want to say last is in the future, one thing you can consider working on is the right hand weight in playing, because I see always you putting a lot of energy in your right hand, and you have a great technique with the right hand, but I think there's much more to explore in terms of weight, vertical weight, that we can use either for plucking, for the chord, for the thumb, and there's much more that we can use of our fingers' weight to actually have that controlled, big, rounded, and present sound. And I know that now you will ask, wait, you cannot say this in just one sentence and then leave it like that. I know, but I'm happy to talk more about it, and I mean to mention it again, especially if we do other workshops, practice routines, and I'll be happy to work on that separately. I think it's a very advanced control and tool of our fingers, but it's really good and worth try working on that. I worked on that specifically with Paolo Pegoraro, and it blew my mind, like how much we can actually obtain from our right hand and from the sound of our guitar if we apply more weight on the right hand. And the other thing that I want to tell you is just since you spend so much time on the pieces and you work so good and for so long, little by little, measure by measure in your pieces, I think that this is a very intense type of work. I don't know if you do it already, but I would consider for you to take some time sometimes just to work on new pieces or sight read pieces and then leave them go, even if they are not perfect or even if they are rough. I think that you will take advantage from some less brain involving work, and it's just moving the fingers, learn how to sight read, free a little bit from the commitment, and just work on just 20 minutes sight reading, and no matter what happens, fine. You know what I mean? And I think that might be a very interesting work to put, especially because you say you put a lot of time and effort in all the pieces, and sometimes it might be very tiring, you know, and maybe you can take advantage of some fun activities, some different type of approach that is just free and relaxed and with no expectation. It will be great work, and I think you will also take advantage from it in your playing. But congratulations, this is a great pass. You're ready to move on to the next level and the next repertoire, and we can't wait to hear your next steps. Bye.